YouTube, my name is Mesa Sean, and we are back here on Destiny 2. Alright folks, time for your weekly Destiny 2 Season of the Drifter news roundup. We're going to go over all the latest Destiny 2 news. If you enjoy my content, a like reading is very much appreciated, and hit subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Let's get into it, folks. In yesterday's video, I covered that Bungie, or Deej in particular, did address the fact that the community is running wild with the Destiny is not going to have PvP or the Crucible in Destiny 3. Now, I'm not going to play the clip again, but in a nutshell, he said there are members of the development team who come into Bungie every day to work on Destiny, and they are hard at work upstairs right now on the future evolution of the Crucible. Shortly after, Deej over on Reddit posted this: "Sorry this was confusing, it was a live fire exercise. This is why I like to write S down and let a dozen people look at it before we F5. Anyway, what I really meant to say was that the Crucible is going to grow from where it is currently. The essence of the Crucible being pure PvP will remain, but there will be changes." However, let's backtrack and get some context. So prior to Deej saying that and posting that over on Reddit, the question came up in chat: is Gambit and Gambit Prime Bungie's vision for the future of the Destiny franchise? I think that question came up because a lot of folks are saying, well, Destiny 3 is not going to have PvP, or that's what the leakers are saying, and that they will focus on some more PvEVP experience or something similar to the Dark Zone in the Division. Now, Robbie from Bungie, he answered that question first, and he said, "That would be a hard no. We specifically set out to build Gambit as its own experience. What that meant was it eventually became a PvE PvP experience. We wanted to focus on competition between two teams, showing the best they can at their PvE skills while competing against another group. Eventually, we laid PvP on because that's what we found to be the most fun experience." Then Peter from Bungie, who was sitting right next to Robbie, he chimed in and said, "Then when we brought the mode out, we were very conscious of trying to deliver the message that this is not Crucible. That's why Gambit does not live in the same space as the Crucible does. Shaxx does not narrate, Shaxx does not host Gambit. It has its own character, the Drifter. It's a separate mode, a separate space, a separate activity, PvE, PvP, not the same as PvP." And then just to follow it up, Dylan from Bungie, the community manager of one of the two community managers, tweeted out, "Can confirm the Crucible isn't going anywhere," when he responded to Enkuch over on Twitter. So with all of this drama about no more PvP, hopefully we could just dead this rumor and focus on, well, the future of Destiny 2 and also Destiny 3. Next week, we are getting update 2.2.1, and Dylan from Bungie posted over on Reddit, "They're removing non-Gunsmith weapons from Bungie's loot pool next Tuesday. While this isn't specifically reducing the cost, your chances of getting the God Roll Erentil will be increased. They'll keep monitoring feedback and pass it along to the team as it comes in." Here is an interesting glitch that was posted over on Reddit by one mythical man. In Asia, or on Asian servers, there is an exotic dealer named Yuna. What one mythical man found was that if you are outside of Asian servers, if you're on PC, before you log in, if you select your region/account and choose Asia, then launch Destiny 2, you can actually see this exotic dealer. From what I understand, you can buy these exotics with real money if you're playing on Asian servers. Now, looking up on Destinypedia about Yuna, it says, "Available exclusively on the Asian servers. Use of her services requires one to be an IGR benefactor, an internet gaming room, which is exclusive to gaming and e-cafes in South Korea. The exotic items she sells, however, are also available during Baron strikes and missions, and are not exclusive to her as a vendor or exclusive to the South Korean region." This footage is from ECZilla. I will link his channel in the description. I thought this was kind of interesting. I don't play on PC, but if you're on PC and you change your region up, yeah, you can go see Yuna, but I don't think you can buy anything from her. Now let's go over the This Week at Bungie for the 4th of April. And primarily, it is focused on next week, April 9th, which we will get update 2.2.1, but more importantly, we're getting what's called Arc Week. Bungie kicks it off with describing Arc Week. A storm is brewing. Next week, we'll kick off what we've been calling Arc Week. Our goal for this happening has been to take the element that makes our sandbox crackle and put it under the microscope. The most noticeable update is that we improved many Arc subclass paths from the time before Forsaken. This week will also feature Arc Singe and Arc Bounties to synergize with your updated abilities to provide a proving ground for all this new energy. Mayhem will be available in the Crucible to let you experiment with your enhanced Arc abilities using shockingly short cooldowns. Arc Week will also feature one of the most powerful Arc weapons ever created, the Thunderlord Exotic Machine Gun. If you weren't able to complete the quest to obtain the Thunderlord last year, you will have from April 9th to April 23rd to revisit the Cosmodrome and add it to your collection. Although I thought the Thunderlord was available from just exotic engrams right now. I don't know. You let me know in the comment section. I got my Thunderlord when the quest was available. It looks like Evil Levante will be the one to give us the bounties for Arc Week. If you look on light.gg, you will find a host of bounties. We see some like use arc grenades to defeat combatants across the system, use arc abilities to defeat combatants, and so forth. So now let's get into all the changes to the arc subclasses, and then they're making a few tweaks to some other subclasses. So let's start off with the Striker Code of the Juggernaut, which is the bottom path. So for Frontal Assault, now increases all weapon damage for the duration of the buff, 25% against combatants, 20% against players. Duration increased from 10 to 16 seconds, and buff timer is now displayed on the HUD. For Knockout, melee damage bonus increased from 25% to 60%, now also triggers once you have dealt 60% damage to a target. Any damage done after 60% will refresh the timer. Still also triggers off shield pop. No longer consumed after one melee attack, and the duration has been bumped up from 3 to 5. Next up, let's talk about the Hunter Arcstrider Way of the Warrior, which is the top path. So for Combination Blow, bonus melee damage can now be stacked 3 times. Requires a melee ability kill for each attack. Buff increases melee damage by 60% per stack in PvE. Buff increases melee damage by 22.7% per stack in PvP. For comparison, this ability used to be 1 stack and increased melee damage by 50%. Kills with this ability will now heal 40 health in addition to starting health regen. Deadly Reach increased buff duration from 6 seconds to 8 seconds, and the buff is no longer consumed by a melee hit. Moving on to the Hunter Arcstrider Way of the Wind, the bottom path. For Disorienting Blow, they're going to increase the disorient distance by 50%, increase duration of disorient on players from 1.5 to 2 seconds. For Focus Breathing, increased dodge recharge bonus while sprinting by 100%. Now I like that because I typically always run the bottom path. I don't know why. I don't use the middle newer path. Alright, we have Combat Meditation. Increased bonus grenade and melee regeneration while bloodied by 25%. Lightning Reflexes. Increased damage resistance while dodging from 25% to 40% in PvP, and increased damage resistance while dodging from 63% to 70% in PvE. Moving on to the Warlock Stormcaller for the top and bottom path. Damage scales up to 150% over 5 seconds of continuous use of the attack, and they're also updating the effects and audio to support this functionality. Now for some specific tuning. First, the top path, the Attunement of Conduction for the Stormcaller. Chain Lightning Melee can now chain up to 5 times, up from 1, and each individual target can be hit twice. Chain damage decreased from 50 to 31 damage per chain hit. When it comes to Arc Web, can now chain to many more targets and back and forth between targets. And then Bungie leaves a footnote: the amount of chaining varies based on use, and I will leave it to you all to discover. They increased the chain range from 10 meters to 12 meters. Chaining arc damage now reduces the cooldown of your grenade. Works with the Arc Web chains and chains from Chain Lightning Melee. Earns 3% energy per instance of chain damage in PvE, and earn 10% energy per instance of chain damage in PvP. Then for the bottom path, which is typically what I use because I love Arc Soul, the Attunement of the Elements. First off, we have Electrostatic Surge. They're increasing the bonus regeneration rate of Rift by 600% per nearby friendly guardian. This sounds insane, and it's a big boost you will definitely feel, but it was previously very low. Extends rift duration from 15 to 20 seconds, adds a UI notification for when the buff is active. And also Arc Soul, they're extending the duration by 50%. These are some enormous buffs to all the Arc subclasses, so I'm looking forward to jumping in next week and testing all of this out. Bungie is going back to address the Voidwalker Nova Warp Super for the Warlock. And they say here, we hit it a little bit hard last time, and this should serve as a nice middle ground. So here's what they're doing. Reduced initial charge detonation energy cost by 20%. Reduced energy cost of holding the charge detonation by 7%. Reduced time required to fully charge the charge detonation from 0.9 seconds to 0.7 seconds. Reduced dark blink cost by 20%. Increased base super duration from 18 seconds to 22 seconds. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section, because I know Nova Warp was, well, a lot of people were complaining about it for the longest. Then it caught a nerf. Well, what do you think? Does this bring it back to a middle ground? They're making some changes to the Warlock Dawnblade Everlasting Fire perk, and let me read their notes. Similar to the Striker, we wanted to make sure this perk didn't allow for infinite supers in certain activities. We've increased the amount you get back up front, but put diminishing returns in it so you can't go forever. This will still be a super you can extend much longer with skill. Now, I love this perk because, yeah, you can make the super go on forever in PvE as long as you're killing red bars. Alright, so here's what they're doing. Tune the amount of super gained from Everlasting Fire. Initial return increase from 10% to 13% super energy. However, return the decays linearly over the course of 30 kills from 13% to 0.75% returned per kill. Now, of course, the question comes up, what about Spectral Blades? Everyone seems to be complaining about it nonstop in the Crucible, and I think rightly so. Well, here's what they have to say. We know it's out of bounds, and we are working right now on a few tweaks to bring it back in line. We'll let you know the details once we finish playtesting and tuning to lock in on what the changes will be. I was surprised that they did not hit Spectral Blades. They made all the tuning to the other subclasses or the Arc subclasses, but Spectral Blades is the one that all the PvPers, or at least what I see on Twitter, they complain about the most. Alright, moving on to patch notes for, well, a patch note preview of 2.2.1. First off, catalysts. 4 new exotic weapon catalysts will be available to drop in Nightfall, Strikes, and the Crucible. The Prospector, Rat King, Hardlight, and Suros Regime. Now, for the Suros Regime, that's only going to drop in the Crucible. The rest of them you can get from Nightfall or Strikes. Zura's inventory will now offer random rolled perks for armor. Now, for the most part, they've kind of been the same perks every time he brings a piece of armor, but it's nice to know that, yeah, after next week, when you watch my Zur videos on Friday, well, he will have random rolls on the armor pieces. Alright, next up for Infusion, fixing an issue where the Vow could not be infused above 650. And also Gambit Prime weapons. So they're doing a big buff so that we can get more of the Gambit Prime weapons. So most Gambit Prime weapons will now have a chance to drop as match completion rewards from Gambit Prime, increasing drop rates from Gambit Prime weapons from the Reckoning. Both Gambit Prime and the Reckoning will have increased drop rates for weapons after each completion without a drop until players are guaranteed a reward. So more incentive to keep playing. Don't back out if you get crushed. I know I do. I play solo most of the time, and when I get crushed, I'm like, man, I want to leave, but now I will stay and play because I want to get some of those Gambit weapons. They're making some changes to the game mode Gambit Prime. An Invasion Kill will heal 8% of the Primeval's health, down from 12%. The Evasion Portal cooldown time during the Primeval phase will be increased to 40 seconds, up from 30 seconds. This cooldown triggers after a player has been killed or successfully returned from an invasion. Gambit Prime will now count to unlock the weekly Gambit Clan Engram. Lastly, there will be some new exotic emotes that are related to Arc Week that you can direct purchase from Eververse. And it looks like, yeah, that's going to be with Silver, or at least they're not saying that here, but there will be some new emotes that you can get from Eververse that will be direct purchase next week in celebration of Arc Week. That is it for this video, guys. Leave me a hashtag made it to the end if you did make it to the end. If you would like to further support this channel and become a channel member, click the link at the top of the description. That's it, guys. Do me a favor, drop a like in this video, only if you see fit. Follow me on Twitter at Mesa Sean. Check out my stream, usually and always on YouTube, and that's it. I am out of here like Vladimir.